but no problem with the drive. But then we checked maybe it's like lost an item, broken item, whatever. It was not the case. So then we thought, oh, maybe they just left a bad thing because they went back to their home country, or maybe because they found like a better laundry, or maybe because it's competition. We thought of everything, and we could never figure out why it was one of the top reasons for people being unhappy about our service. And it turned out that most customers that is the point I want to make with this whole presentation. If you want to just remember one thing, is that you can't guess. You can't guess what the problem is when people are using the product, or what problem, how people perceive the problem in their head. So they have to tell you. Your users own the key of your growth. It's not you, it's not in your head, it's not in your meeting room, it's not your head of growth, it's not your growth hacker, it's your users. And the faster you can actually switch your brain, gather so much data that you can take off your brain and start putting on the brain of your users, the faster you can do this exercise, the faster you're on a path to building a killer go-to-market strategy. So what happened here is that we could have never guessed. It's actually the amount of plastics that we were producing, and that people left. Whenever they receive a T-shirt, for instance, they would have a massive plastic like this, because that for us ensured quality. Because the fact of wrapping it into plastic, having the hangers, having everything that makes that during travel it would not wrinkle, that it would be super neat, etc. So that was super important for us. Yet for users, the way they perceived it is oh my god, look at, as soon as I unwrap, look at the amount of plastics that I'm getting. This is terrible for the environment, because we are targeting users that are sophisticated, that are environmentally friendly, whatever, but people that care about this stuff. And then the second thing, we understood that when it came to laundry, pricing is extremely important. With other items, it might not be the case. The price elasticity can be you can get away with increasing your pricing, but in laundry, no, because it's super competitive, it's a commodity, it's something that you just want to get rid of at the cheapest possible cost, and you don't want to pay you want the best result possible. So it's extremely functional. You don't want to pay premium for it. Yet we have premium a premium pricing simply because the quality required premium pricing. And this, we also saw it on our social, when basically one of these users sent, out of desperation, we used your full service for the first time this week as a regular laundry, which charges less than half your rates. This was the resultant mass of plastic after you package every single angle item. So basically, even on social media, and now this goes a bit beyond go-to-market in the sense that these were already customers, but the idea here is that even on our social media, people that were users, they were already telling this to us. The problem is that when you're a founder, when you're in your startup, your focus is so narrow on delivering products, delivering doing that sprint, making sure that your roadmap is, making sure you're always pulling off fires, that you tend to forget to really understand your customers. And what was very interesting here is that if we would have run this exercise, this whole protocol of mezzanine user research, the problem is that we would have continued our own way up until then the numbers would start decreasing exponentially, and then we would have terrible, then we would have terrible results, and the problem is that we wouldn't even have known why. And then we would have gone through a crisis mode. Oh my god, my people are churning, and then it's too late to act. I mean, it's not too late to act, but it's now you're playing reactive mode. Here you're playing proactive. So then what we realized as well was the key channel, right? Because of the meeting room effect, something very, very interesting happened. Even at Washburn, super smart, all the founders, just super smart people, but logic sometimes doesn't match with what happens then in the market. because of like insights that you cannot imagine. So what we realized, the first thing was like, let's forget about Facebook, Instagram, like TikTok, all of those more discovery channels, because it doesn't make sense, right, for laundry. Because at the end of the day, people that want laundry, they're gonna look it online. It's like they're gonna go on Google, which is like modern version of the yellow pages. They're gonna go, I need a laundry, and then so we needed to make sure like all of our focus was initially all focused on Google, because we needed to rank high as possible at the lowest cost, and we needed to outbid any sort of competition to really be on the top results for Google as soon as you spell laundry in that bar, because that's where we thought the customers were. And it was right, it was partially right. That's where we saw like a crazy amount of growth initially. And then what happened is that Google, even if it started like 9x, it was like crazy the amount of growth that we had from Google, then at some point it started plateauing. And it started plateauing because there were no more users researching for laundry. And like all of our Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, like all of that we completely disregarded, because we were like, forget it, like it's Google. Since we don't have a lot of budget, let's focus on one channel, which is Google. Turned out that for all products that need to be discovered, where people can't think about it, a discovery type of channel, a market push channel, like a channel where you discover stuff, is much better. It's much more efficient than something like Google. Why? Because think about it, right? When you're thinking of laundry, you would never think that you can do this through an app. Like, okay, I mean, especially if you've done laundry over the last 20 years in a regular manner. So you need someone to make it discoverable for you, so that you can look at your phone and say, oh wow, actually I can do laundry with an app, I never thought about it. And this I never thought about it opened like a crazy amount of growth for us, because it can open up like a whole market that never thought about doing laundry through an app, simply because it was not the first thing they would think of. They would go on Google and find laundries around me. So what happened is that we ended up investing like the majority of our budget on Google, disregarding completely all the other channels, especially a discovery channel like Facebook. And when I talk Facebook, I talk like Meta, so Facebook, Instagram, all of that. Yeah, organics, word of mouth. And so then the step 6 is really now that you've done all this research, and now that you've gone through this whole process. And this process, it looks very long, but it doesn't have to be long. You can do it like, we've done it in a record of 2 weeks. We had all the data, we had all the things, we had all our tactical plan, and we had like a killer go-to-market strategy. After 3 weeks, we had one. So it is doable. So what did we learn from this data that we gathered directly from the market, from being out there in the market, talking to users, talking to beta testers in the go-to-market case? It's basically people had too much laundry and no time. At no point we were in the business of ironing, of like shirts, or like, people don't care about that. People care about time. Yet all of our marketing ideas are just do it. We're all about your suit clean and press, your shirt clean and press, images everywhere of a guy going to work like in a suit. Like that was our marketing. Like that was our idea of marketing. That was like our go-to-market, quote-unquote, standard playbook of like, oh, let's come up with a message. That's what happened in the meeting room, right? And it was not about that. So we had to change all of our marketing in a completely different angle, where we're in the business of giving back people's time. That laundry sucks, let us do it for you so that you can enjoy your time. What are you going to do with your time? The other one is that we clearly understood that operations, retention, all of that was pretty okay. We didn't have a problem with the product. It was clear that we had a problem with marketing, because people did not connect to what we were doing. The last part is that very strong operations, so this is pretty much like very in the same line. what we realized as well is that we were not perceived as eco-friendly, and we were perceived as too expensive. And the last one is that we were too much on Google, whereas we should have actually prioritized Facebook, because that's where the massive growth really comes from.
How did you know it was Facebook? Did you actually burn the money in different social media channels and see the ROI?
So yeah, so what we...
All the questions, because there's a lot of people watching live on YouTube. You can make sure that you use the mic and ask, and all of them can hear as well. Because there's been messages coming in asking about that.
So I repeat my question. So how do you know which social media channel works? So burning the cash, especially the startup we are on like a bootstrap model. So
yeah. So in this case, because we had like a bit of cash to to play around with, we did some tests. We said like, okay, let's test Facebook. Let's test Facebook with this way. So we started testing on Facebook, and we actually saw that most users came from there. Now, when you're bootstrapping, you don't know which channel you can go to, then my advice to you, when you don't have money, the only way you can get out of not having, of not doing that, you need to go organic. So how do you build like an organic audience? And especially if you bootstrap, what kind of business are you in?
tech startup, education startup.
Education startup, perfect. So I have a good friend called Elasticity. He started like in India, something called growthschool.io, and Veva started like, he literally like bootstrapped it during pandemic. He already had courses, like he already had his own courses. He sold it for like $1,000, whatever, on Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. And the way he did it, like to test that, he tested organically on his channel, like he tested on LinkedIn. So just started posting saying, hey guys, I'm hosting like a free video, like 10 tips on how to do this, this and that, comment. And then he started posting that on different channels, and that's how he started seeing, oh, I don't know, like, I don't know his numbers, but what I do know is that he would like do that on different channels and then see, oh, Twitter actually has a better response, even if it's 10 versus 3, like, oh, okay, Twitter's giving me more. And so go organic. At the beginning, if you don't have money, you shouldn't burn money that you don't have. And now, like, starting, like the beautiful story of growthschool.io is that they recently raised $5 million from Sequoia. So like, they, like, the model is validated, and now they're just like in really hyper scaling. So go organic at the beginning, especially if you're bootstrapping, because you can't afford to, like, burn money that you don't have. But in our case, we already had raised a couple of, like, we already had kind of raised, etc. So we already had money to test, like, we're not very comfortable, but we could like test things out. So what boxes then did we understood that we needed to actually convert? One is to talk about time. Second is to boost awareness with eccentric design. That would have like kind of gave like a second life to our top of the funnel. Insist on quality and customer service. Make Watchman eco-friendly. Insist entry-level offer, and optimize all the content for Meta, for Facebook, Instagram, and all discovery channels. Yep.
Back to what you show us on the Watchman case, which I wanted to know what was the retention rate. What's the
retention rate?
Yeah.
So for Watchman, I mean, I can't really disclose like all the metrics, especially back then, but the retention is extremely strong. And it was extremely strong because we realized that after twice that someone would use us, they would generally stay for at least 6 months. Because the operations were great and the customer service was great. So the product itself was really validated in the market, was really good. But here you're talking about a company that had already like a year and a half already in the market.
So from your experience, what is considered as a good, what good looks like? What kind
depends
of
on the businesses. There's no one metric fit all in terms of churn rates. So for instance, there are some businesses that they don't have retention because it's like it's just like a churn and burn. So you just acquire your user, it's a high ticket, they just buy one, and there's so many users around the world that you don't need retention. So it really depends. So it really depends on the industry, it depends on the business.
In general, such as Watchman, retail, what is the general, if
So I think like a good rule of thumb in general that I see in terms of retention for apps, for app-based businesses, like in general, if you have like, especially for mass consumer that people need to use it all the time, it will be around like 30%. So retention rate month over month is like, it's like really, really good, because normally these apps, they have like huge churn rate. Like for instance, at Kareem, I remember back then we were like at 60 to 70% initially. Like it's really, like it's takes a toll, but these are consumer apps, consumer tech. And then with time, you know, then you can have like a much stronger retention rate. So what we actually did here, no budget for billboards on Sheikh Zayed. What we realized here is that what was very, very interesting for us was to have, like all of our vans were unbranded. So what does it mean unbranded? They were like white. And what we realized is that if you had like the possibility of using this van as a moving billboard, then you didn't need like a Sheikh Zayed billboard that cost like $1 million or whatever. So what we realized is that having those white vans running around didn't make sense, because this was a marketing real estate right there that we had to use. So, and that consisted of the fact that our marketing was very weak, in the sense that the top funnel was very weak, is that we were not visible. So what we did is that we wrapped our vans into like a very cool and fresh design so that you could not miss it. And the beauty of having these vans running around town is that the way Washman works, and this is very specific to Washman, the way it worked is that you had an app here where all the drivers would go in the same geofence. I mean, not all of them, but like a big amount of driver would go where the demand is. So it was like basically, if there's a lot of people asking for laundry and marina, then you would have like several vans going there to make sure that the capacity is there, that we serve our clients. So what happened is that, what's beautiful is that if on a Thursday at 5 p.m. you would think of doing your laundry, you're like, oh, I need to do my laundry. Now that was the time when other people were thinking about it, they were ordering, and now you start seeing like Washman vans everywhere. And so your thought is like, oh my God, these guys are everywhere. And now you see like, you're stuck in traffic in Marina, you see 1, 2 Washman vans, you turn around, you see like another Washman van like at your building, and then you're like, oh my God, these guys are huge overnight. It was exactly the same company. Nothing changed except that we wrapped our vans, and little did we know that this like conglomerate demand made it look to customers that we were huge. And so we banked on that, because remember as well when I told you that the whole concept of Washman was not the suits and ties and the shirts, but it was like no time for laundry, wash everything, 55 dirhams was basically here. And I mean, I can't play it right now, but we did like this as a sort of new TV commercial. It was like 12 seconds. You see a guy that is dressed up like weird. He's gonna hold a bag, and then he's gonna be like talking about time. And then if we play, I don't have the video here, but if we can play it, basically it says that I know you've got too much laundry. Well, because guess what? You told me in the survey, wash everything you have for 45 dirhams. So now we're going against the fact that you think we are super pricey. 45 dirhams is not even a price of a drink, and we can wash everything. And then we insisted like super funky stuff to make laundry fun, so that it looks like fun. And on top of that, we insist on the fact that you don't have time for this. And then when you see, and this is like super interesting, is that we reinforce all the touch points consistently. So we had all those vans running around. Remember the story of the van? Then even in our Instagram stories, we use like the vans consistently, so that people are like, oh, I saw that van outside of my bed of my apartment. Now, oh my God, oh, this is the thing that I'm seeing every time, and so it reinforces the thing. And then guess what? We also started testing like price elasticity with different customers, because they're like, okay, they think like Ford like 55 is too, like, I don't know, this is too expensive, let's try another price. So we started testing another price on another audience to see where it was too expensive or where it was not too expensive. We ran promotions to see where people would convert more. And then what happened is that we realized that at some point, after like implementing all these things that the customers actually told us, then we realized that people were not converting for another reason, is that people would download the app and then they would forget it. Because when you download your app, it goes into like one screen of your phone, and if you don't have someone constantly reminding you that, hey, you need it, then it's a problem. And so we took like a very specific technique that we took from enterprise, like of all things, we took it from enterprise solutions, where basically, I don't know if you ever registered for a demo, for a tool, yeah? So basically, there is a case study from close.io that literally measured when was the best time to call a customers from the time they put like their details to register for a demo. And it turns out that it's like 5 minutes. If it's before, people are gonna be like, whoa, what is this? If it's more, they're gonna forget about your demo. If you do it at 5 minutes, that's where you have the highest chance of closing. And that was tested by close.io on like thousands of customers, etc. Once we read that case study, we said, why don't we do the same? So we tested it. What I did first, testing it by myself, and then, so I started like, as soon as someone downloaded the app, I called them 5 minutes after, 4 minutes after, 15 minutes after, and actually we realized that 5 minutes was the sweet spot. And I just told them, hey guys, I just saw that you downloaded the Washman app. My name is Nelio, I'm the head of growth, and I'd love to give you your first wash for free. Even if you don't need it now, you can just like schedule it now, put your credit card on file, and we're gonna pick it up tonight. And people absolutely loved it, and now we have the first order. And remember what I told you before, is that we knew that after 2 orders, we would retain the client for 6 months. So if I give you your first order, we're already half there. I already half lock you in for 6 months. Because that's the nature of numbers, right? So numbers don't lie. And so once we saw that it worked, we actually built like a full functioning conversion call center. So we've hired people, and then at some point we had like a whole room calling people every 5 minutes that downloaded the app to convert them over the phone. And what's very interesting is that we even developed like a software solution in-house to pretty much see when it was like 5 minutes, if people did not respond, like it was all integrated and automated. So, and I honestly think that today, Washman has one of the best solutions, like in terms of softwares, because they build like all their tech in-house, that if they want to exit just on this software, because there's a lot of other companies that would need something like this, they can already do like an exit as well on their tech stack, because of all the work that we've built, tools that we actually needed. So there's for sure a market for that. And also remember when there was the fact that that the like people felt it that. You have a question, sorry?
I just want to ask, it has to be a phone call, like a WhatsApp or something like that. Yeah. It will not work.
We tried phone call, and it worked really well. We hadn't tried WhatsApp. We just tried phone call simply because, like, you know, that was the first thing to do. Then I think they optimized because they couldn't have like a phone set, like people calling for too long, but like basically, yeah, you could use it any sort of touch point. In our case, it was a phone call.
Okay, thanks.
There's another.
How did you get the intent? The 5 minutes are there, he just downloaded. So do you get that in the
Well, we got it from a case study from another company that had done it.
Do you know that somebody is downloading just now, or?
Yeah, so yeah, you have for that you have like basically in your warehouse data, when you're the owner of the app, your warehouse.
Google Play would let you know that somebody is downloading because your app was where? Where would somebody download your app from?
From the App Store.
So the App Store.
So then you pretty much like track downloads in your warehouse data. And then we just have like a pop-up telling us, oh, these are the, like 10 people just downloaded your app right now, 5 people do it now, and then we would source that from our warehouse data, from our backend data.
So I'm from fashion company. We have an e-commerce where we give solution to fashion buyers. They can get the international brands. So actually I have two questions. First is that when you mention about truck, this solution advertising, don't you think that customer has been overflown now with information? They see a lot of ads on billboards and trucks and on social media. Like if I'm using for half an hour, I will see 10 ads. So how can we make ourselves unique and customer will remember when there are a lot of other players that are giving the same solution as we are? Like this laundry, there are other...
Yeah, I get it. So my answer to this is relevance. So relevance means that you know your customer so well, you own your customer data so well that you pretty much know what they're gonna like, what they're not gonna like, and that's how you become unique. You become unique to someone. You don't become unique to everyone. So the uniqueness happens because you are focused on your customer segment and you know them so well that you come up with initiatives that nobody's ever thought because they don't know their customers. So in this example, and this is a great transition back to the slides, is that we couldn't imagine that plastic and pollution would actually mean anything for our customers if we wouldn't have been obsessed by data to really understand our customers really well. And so when we started doing like this whole home recycling program, where we basically had this idea of telling, hey guys, we know that we've got all this plastic, etc. Just put all your plastic, plus all your plastic bottles, plus all your paper, whatever you want to recycle, put it into a washman bag, and next time with your laundry, we're gonna also pick up all your dry plastic and all your dry recyclables. And this, to your point, it becomes very unique because nobody's doing it, but how did we think about it? It's the customer telling us. It's the customer telling us that they care about the environment. So we build something that we have at least like a certainty, a data point that matters to them. Because otherwise, if I'm sitting in a meeting room and I say, oh, let's now do all the, I don't know, let's give them candies. But how do I know if they really care about candies? So data first, and then you execute.
Okay, so the second question was, we talked about a learning span. You spend a lot of budget on Google and then got to know that Facebook is a good tool. What is an average learning period for a new brand?
$2,000 a month.
No, learning period, like a year, a few months,
No,
2 years?
you actually need, so in total we always recommend 3 months, but actually, if you know what you're doing, you can actually learn even in like 2 weeks, as soon as your ads go live. Because like it's gonna take 5 days for you to test your ads, so you've got a learning period of 3 to 5 days. Then once you have there's a learning phase that is like 48 hours. That you cannot, on your ads, you cannot really know what's happening. Then after the 48 hours, you've got like 2 days where you're gonna pretty much see the numbers that start to make kind of sense. And then it's gonna take you maybe, I would run it for 2 weeks in general before taking conclusions. That's it. And so what happened with this environmentally friendly campaign that we did, then guess what? All these Loving Dubai, Arabian Business, Dubai Week, even BBC, like a section of BBC Home interviewed us, etc. It gave us a lot of free press. We could have never imagined it because we built it for our users. But then it actually turned out that a lot of people cared about this, especially here in Dubai. And that, guess what? There's a lot of newspaper coming to us. Oh my God, a new recycling service, and we actually got a lot of user acquisition because of this kind of free PR that came to us. So back to your point, how do you become unique? Is that the way we did it, so I don't have an answer on how do you become unique in general. The way we did it is that we listened to our customers, we knew what mattered to them, and we built solution based on very specific data points that we had on them and by them. And then we built a whole lot of influencer marketing just to make it the really. And then you see, as soon as we did talk about time, boost awareness with eccentric design, insist on quality and customer service, make Washman eco-friendly, insist on entry-level offer, and optimize all the content for Meta, Facebook, Instagram. Then we started really we saw major traction. And that is when our go-to-market was like go-to-market, like in that sense where our refreshed marketing was really successful, is that we had like a success story covered by Facebook we met the guys both from Menlo Park in California to the guys in Ireland. They did like a whole Facebook case study for us, and then we grew expansively, and we ended up closing like a series. We ended up closing like a fundraising of $6 million, even with very big companies like Henkel. So that's pretty much it for me. So I don't know if you have any more questions, anything that you'd like to. You're welcome.
This is amazing. Lots of information, very useful. Thank you very much. Just asking a question from the cost of going to the market perspective. So there are two ways of running it. One, you have the budget. To have a decent attraction of the acquisition of a customer, such as the example you show, how much budget should we, let's say, a similar operation put aside? And second question
in terms of how much money you would need just to test to test like a go-to-market.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Test go-to-market and also actually going to the market, going through all those like Google. It's very expensive to go to Google, so for the name appear on the. So some of the tips. That's my first question. Yeah, maybe you want to answer. This is already a lot of things. Maybe you want to answer the first question.
So and that is very, very simple. We always recommend at least $2,000 per channel. So if you're doing Google, you need $2,000. If you need like Instagram, TikTok, whatever, it's at least $2,000 a month. And generally, we recommend to do at least 3 months to really test your go-to-market strategy, based on all the assumptions that we've built before. Because as you can see from the initial model, you don't go to market directly. You're gonna go, like, first you need your beta users, then you need to gather all these insights from your beta users, and then you go to market. So it's very de-risked. So you'll know that these $6,000 that you're putting into going to market, you're actually not gonna, most likely, you're not gonna throw them, because everything is everything that you're building is well informed.
6,000 a month by 3 months.
No, not 6,000 a month. 2,000.
2,000 per channel. Let's say 3 channels.
Generally, you wouldn't. I mean, depending on your finances, but if you're like bootstrapping or you're not like you're really tight on resources, I wouldn't use more than a channel, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would like focus on one channel and really test that channel with $2,000 at least the first month.
That's amazing. Seems to be seems to be quite affordable. So what if it's I do nothing, I do organic? So any tips that I can grow organic?
Yeah, I mean, organic is a complete different thought process. So for organic, there's only one thing that is really gonna make you stand out, which is content. So content marketing. And content marketing is very, very difficult, but the principle is always the same. Like, I've had, for instance, like I've tested all channels, and I've tested as well like organic relentlessly, right? Because I think organic is the golden channel to own as a marketeer, because you don't need to pay anyone, right? It's like pure free growth. But it's not that free, because organic, you need to build an audience. An audience takes time. The reason why these platforms like Meta, Snapchat, TikTok, Google exist is that it's a shortcut. You get there faster. For you to build an audience, it could take you up to 2 years to build like a consistent audience. Like, just keep in mind, I've been, for instance, testing on one channel, just my organic channel, just for me to learn about it, which is LinkedIn. I reached, like, after 2 years, 17,000 followers. It took me 2 years. And if you run ads, 17,000, you'll get it probably in like 6 days. 17,000 people, that, like, whatever. But what I'm just saying is that what I just want to tell you with this is that organic also is a lot of like research at the source. You can't just come out, oh, today I'm going to build content on this. All your content strategy also needs to be informed by data. So you need to buy tools to allow you to source that data so that your content is very, very, very specific with your audience. So also that needs to have like, it has to be backed by numbers, because you can't, You can't build your content strategy on like, oh, today I'm going to talk about makeup, and tomorrow I'm going to talk about this, and tomorrow, like, it's never going to happen.
So one more question is, you mentioned about the 100 mega customer, and initially you give it for free. Is it 100% free or some hybrid of, because if you
So
give
as
it
you
for
can
free,
see, for instance,
the question I have is, if you give it for free, then when you go to market in the actual marketplace, and then the situation will be very different from what is given by free. And if you give customer by free, they will say, oh, good, wonderful. But in reality, when they pay, things will be slightly different.
yeah, so there's two school of thoughts in this. You can go free if you want. So I generally always suggest going free with people that are engaged with the product, because A, it's much easier to acquire them, and B, it's not about the free thing. It's not about, oh, it's free, etc. When you are given the opportunity to be a beta tester, in general, you feel proud to be part of that group. You're like, oh my god, I feel so cool to be the first one to test an iPhone. It's like, there's only 100 people that are going to test it, so you feel part of a community. And so, when you build those first 100 beta testers, you need to make sure that you build like a sort of close-knit community with them. And that's how, I personally took that from software companies, because software companies do this extremely well. One example, for instance, of all is like Funnelytics. The founder of Funnelytics, he literally went to market in 3 months. He built like a whole community of thousands of people, and after 3 days of launch, he was already $200,000 revenue, and he used the exact same framework, exactly the same. So this is like very software based, but we've tested as well with like e-commerce businesses, in beauty, and like whatever sort of businesses, where we tested those insights, and it actually worked. Because then you get testimonials, you get recommendation, you get like your business already running pretty much. The only thing is that you have no revenue.
So I think I agree with the lady regarding the free part, because so our education, like we are actually providing during COVID time in India, is like providing coding solutions. And at that time, White Hat Junior was quite famous, acquired by Baiju at that time.
Yeah.
The problem with like providing the free demo, the parents are not taking it seriously. They book for the free demo, they are not showing up. So the value of free, I'm not talking about the Indian market, people don't take it very seriously. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's true. There is an element of that for sure. So there is an element for that for sure, and then like the second best option you have is to introduce like a beta tester pricing. There's that too. There's a lot of people that do that as well. An example of that, I can't really think of an example, but actually now I'm testing. I'm going to market myself with my own course to start, and it's true. Like the first webinar, etc., that we're gonna do, we're gonna sell it for like I think $30 or something. So yeah, there's a point to that, to not giving like for free to anyone, but there's also an element that the first 100 should come from your own network. Yeah, thank you. So it should come generally from your own network that really want to help you and that really are on target, that you really like their experience, etc. So yeah, there's an element of that, and then you can test. You can choose to do like a super lean pricing or like the free model.
Like just like the developer, he did like $4.99 pricing for the LinkedIn workshops. So,
Yeah.
The second question regarding the social media part, you said $2,000 per channel. But think about this way: if my competitor, like in this case it was White Hat Junior, they are spending like $200,000.
Yeah.
The probability of my ad being visible to the parent or my target audience will be 0.1.
Yeah.
So this $2,000 running into the B2C market with the
So
bigger players.
then you get into another territory here. Now you're talking about your ads being visible with your ad spend. And if you want, we can geek out on this because there's whole frameworks for that. So the way algorithm works for ads like platforms, there's two ways of it, right? There's one, it's the budget. Actually, there's three ways. One is the budget, two is the targeting, three is the relevance score of that ads. So, and I have a framework and case studies on this where basically, A, you can compete on budgets, okay? You inundate with money. B, you compete with good targeting. So you Instead of so already, if you're in a business that you're going frontally against a competitor that can spend $200,000, then you're in the wrong business. The third aspect, so you need to niche out. So you need to like carve yourself a niche that your big competitor that is spending $200,000 is not relevant enough and specific enough for your sub-audience. So you're getting like a subgroup. The third aspect is then working on the relevance score of your ads. And the relevance score of your ads means how your content of the ad resonates with your users. And if you provide like a high relevance, or I think now they changed the name in the ads manager, but basically if you have like a high score of that, you are going to receive more, like your CPA is going to come down because your CPM, which is cost per mail, Facebook, Google, whatever platform, is going to increase the distribution because they say, oh, this is good for the platform, for the user experience in the platform. The user they're targeting, they're actually looking at the ads, they're engaging with the ads, so let me pump more. Because it's good for them, it's good for the users, it's good for us as a platform, it's good for everybody. So that's it. So just think of these three things. Because yes, in theory, if you go against like a $200,000, like going, I don't know, 3 people against an army of 3,000 people, what are you going to do? You're going to lose, 100%. Unless you work on these small things. Because you can't work on budget, so you can only work on carving out your niche and becoming so specific and so relevant to them that now it becomes like, okay, this guy really gets me, like this company really gets me. And the third aspect, like the second aspect you can play on, is the quality of your messaging, of your content, of your brand. Like, does it resonate with them? Is it appealing? Do they like it? Do they engage with it? This is the only way you can compete with a $200,000 competitor. Like, otherwise there's no other way. Because unfortunately money wins, so.
Hi, Nelio. I'm a part of Tie the Buy, and this one, my question to you is actually for all our startup network. So how, this is a question that all of us are very regularly asked. First of all, with the bootstrapping that you're doing as a startup, you're also doing time strapping. Because as a founder, you're stretched everywhere.
100%.
And one of the things that you're always looking for is a good PR and marketing, because for some reason it's always clubbed together. And so my question to you is, how does a startup actually zone in on a PR and a marketing agency? Because most of them are not good at it doing themselves. And second is, what is the deliverables that they need to look for? Because many people are ready to sign them on, but then most of the startups have no clue what they need to get out of the people. Like, they don't have deliverable matrices. Like, they don't say, I need data about this. They don't, spell it out. So they end up spending the money thinking that they're getting somewhere or something, and they never do. And my third most important question is, urban monks free enough? Do you have free enough time to take on some more startups, to do some...
I'm not here to sell, I'm here to give. When I give, no, I give. When I sell,
it's from me.
No, but like to your point, yeah, PR is very important, but even more important than PR. So there's two ways of thinking to your question. One is PR is important, absolutely. I think we are in a world where content wins. And content can win against like a 200,000 ads budget competitor. How? There's two ways of doing it. Either you do it through the standard route, where you build a story around your company and you get big titles that kind of give you the distribution. Because at the end of the day, like if you think about how marketing works, it works about two things. It's about the messaging and the distribution. You can create the best content on earth, but if nobody sees it, it's going to stay up in a mountain, in Mountain Fuji, and it's going to be discovered in 5,000 years when archaeologists are going to just scrape down the soil. And it's the best content in history. And the other side is distribution. Distribution beats content quality every single day of the year. And what PR gives you is distribution. It's audiences. So how do you build that? So there's two ways of doing it. And I think one that is the most underlooked marketing channel that any founder should be doing is like personal brand from the founder. There are great founders that built all their business around their personal branding and around the story of their company. And because they were very PRable and because they were very naturally getting into that, then it would be very easily picked up by media and it easily catches on the eyes of the investors, even if their product is not that great. So there is that as well. So building a personal brand, I think for founders and for anyone in business, is the most important thing you could ever do for yourself, for your company, because guess what? Even if your company fails today, you're still going to have like an email list of 30,000, 50,000 people that in your next business, you can use it as an infrastructure for your next business. I'll give you a very specific example. There is this marketeer in the US called Josh Fetcher. He made a bang with a social media company. He was like on every blog. He like built like a whole personal brand for himself that was very, very strong. And then guess what? The agency, I don't know, there was founder dispute, whatever happened with their thing, he kind of like moved out. But he moved out with a 30,000 email list of like super fans. So his next venture was also a success because you already had an audience. So build that audience from day one. I know it's very time consuming, I know it's like this and that, but if you have an audience, you have gas to go much faster, much further in your space. So personal brand is important. LinkedIn as a platform is crazy good to build a personal brand. It's getting more and more difficult. It takes like crazy amount of time, but it's very valuable. And this is your first PR strategy. The second one is your company PR strategy. That is more understanding the deliverable you were mentioning. To understand how to build a story around your company. What does your company, why is your company so different, and why do people that are not in the realm of business would care about? So, I don't know, like payments, fintech that decides to be the first one to send payments to the moon. Like, and then with a hot, like, I don't know, with a meteor, like a meteor balloon, you can just like, I don't know, do a stunt where you do this. Or like build stunts so that PR notices you over and over. And this was like our strategy at Kareem. We had like a very, very strict schedule of stunts that we would think of like crazy things of like, I don't know, like slingshotting people from one tower to the other, like sending, I don't know, like, you know, whatever, like using cars to create like this type of stunt. So, like, building PR stunts is a great way to get noticed by PR, but you need like a PRable story. And then the second, you need like a relationship with journalists that you can build through your personal brand on LinkedIn. I personally been featured on like a lot of different magazines like Entrepreneur, etc. because of the relationship that I built with my own, like, you know, network on LinkedIn and through like people that you meet. So personal brand, and second thing is creating a boilerplate, like proper different boilerplates of very PRable stories that media would get, would at least find fun. That's it. And then finding the market. That's why there's so good books.
Yeah.
Product placement. Yeah.
There's a question from YouTube. Just give me 1 minute.
There's also a question there.
So the question is Facebook, she means Meta, still a relevant platform for digital marketing in the UAE? And she comes from a services tech, hobby tech, ed tech background.
So I don't know for her business specifically, but for sure, I mean, like Instagram is still like most of the transactions that are happening right now is still on Instagram. But of course, it's not a secret that these ad platforms are having more and more challenges as they go, because they're brink of like another completely new wave of technology that is happening right now. So we're kind of like, are we on the up market, like on the bull market where everything like, oh my god, if you do ads, it's great, etc. No, we're not there anymore. However, how else do you create distribution otherwise? That is the big question, because at the end of the day, marketing is about distribution, it's about building audiences. Where else would you get, like, up until today, it's still like the most efficient channel. And then it depends. Maybe not Facebook for sure. So Facebook, I wouldn't, like, we don't even use Facebook anymore. I think I don't even have an account anymore. Like, I don't know, whatever. Instagram for sure. It's like super important, especially here in the region, because people are spending. That's where they spend most of their time. It's like on that. For professional services, LinkedIn is a great platform. They're very, very expensive. So unless you're very high ticket funnels, don't go spend on LinkedIn, because the ads, the CPM there are very, very high. And if you're in the service company, there's another way there are other two ways you can go, like you can really market your company, is through outreach. So there are like very, very personalized ways of doing email outreach. And another one is creating like technical content. So you pick a niche, you dissect the content at that niche, and then you build like SEO content or content for people to find you as soon as they Google your name, as soon as they Google your niche, so that you bump up the results, and that's where they're gonna find you.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. So thanks, Nelio. It's a pleasure to meet you in person.
Thank
we
you
had
very
the
much.
opportunity of having a session from you at Techstars. My question is, so basically my name is Amreen, and we've got a B2B marketplace where we enable the food businesses to procure meats locally as well as from international suppliers. So we started off with a B2C platform where we're serving the end consumers, and we have tried and tested all sort of social media channels, exhausted our funds. So we have had like a good, experience using different digital strategies. Now, my question is that now that we have moved to serving the businesses, we have been acquiring customers, from direct personal conversations and direct conversations. So we haven't been using too much of, I would say, any sort of online strategy. But as we have already crossed the MVP and the product stage, we want to get into the digital marketing. So what sort of channels would you suggest for us to start off that would actually help us benefit? That's my one question. The other one is other than obviously the conversions that we receive from those advertisements, what are the key points that we can consider while making those sort of advertisements and creating those strategies?
So I think, going to your point, what is your business? It's a
So it's a meat marketplace, B2B marketplace,
B2B.
where we connect the buyers locally to the suppliers, domestic suppliers as well as international.
So I wouldn't go with social media ads, because that's not where your customers are going to be. Like, why would you even think of going on social media when, if it's like Friday evening and you are watching Netflix and you're taking out your phones while you're watching Netflix, are you really gonna think, even if I'm like a B2B buyer and I need a buyer, am I really gonna say, oh my God, now let me jump into work and let me do this? You're never gonna do it. Social media, especially like Instagram, I'm talking Instagram because that's still like the like prime channels here. In the US it's TikTok. But basically, on social media, the way social media ads really work is that it's a Friday evening, you're in your couch, you're watching Netflix at the same time, and you're scrolling numbly like your social media feed, and at some point you say, oh, this is interesting. What is that? Oh, okay, and then you enter the funnel. This is how ads work. If you are in B2B and you need to make a decision of selling my equipment to like another B2B buyer for like $15,000, I'm not gonna be on social, even if you show me that and I'm your relevant customer, if I'm scrolling Instagram on a Friday evening in front of Netflix, I'm not gonna be in a mental space for me to take a decision now or to check your page. However, if you're on LinkedIn and it's a Monday morning And it's different because now my mental space is completely different. I'm here, I'm logging into LinkedIn for business. Like I want to build business relationship, I want to build business network, and now guess I see this. Now again, LinkedIn is not like the most efficient platform, but there's ways of doing that. If you're a high ticket item, so basically if your marketplace generates low volumes but high tickets, so let's say I don't know, want to sell my whatever, like big water tanks for industrial installation, then LinkedIn is perfect because you can make a lot of margins out of your ad spend. Because anyways, what's $15,000 if your ticket size is 30,000 or 40,000 or 100,000? You're not gonna feel it. But if it's like a small B2B and small transactions, then it's more of a problem because how are you gonna reach out to these customers? And one way, and that's what most B2B companies are getting to, is that you need to build a community around your product before advertising your product. What do I mean by that? So I'll give you an example. For instance, there's a very interesting case that I've observed in many different instances. For instance, in France, there is like a payment solution for small businesses, and what they created ads, but they created ads to target CFOs, not to take a decision on what tools they need to build, but hey CFO, join this free CFO France community where you're going to find 10,000 CFOs just like you, and you can find all the latest trends, all the latest things, everything just for you to be. And then you need to warm them up in that community, and then you sell it to them 3 months down the line when they're already like familiar with your brand. I'll give you another example. We had like a company in the US. It's one of the most boring, at least for me, industries that we've ever treated. That was like HCM solutions. I don't know if any of you know can someone raise their hand if you know what an HCM solution is? Okay, so HCM solution is basically when you have like contracting companies to build stuff or like to cut trees or like, you know, big companies with a lot of workers, it becomes extremely difficult to manage all the payrolls, all the leaves, all the trainings for these workers. Becomes very difficult. So what happens is that you cannot do this manually, and like each team cannot manage this differently because now you have like, if Imar does, like they have thousands of people, how can they manage all the leads, etc. So that's why HCM solutions work, is that the HR will have like notification, everything is integrated. So the training they need to have, the payroll, the leaves they need to take, everything is integrated in one system. So we were working with this company, and they were like, how do we stand out in our market? We've been doing this, we have a great product, yada yada yada, but like how do we market our product? And what we did is that we never thought of like running ads. Because we're like, how can you reach out to like a CFO or like an HR and make them take a decision to hop on a call with you, check your product on Instagram? Like they're never going to be in the mental space. On Instagram, it's a complete different thing. They're just like, on Instagram, they're going to be like taking pictures with their dogs on the beach. Like that's the mental space. That's the mental game you need. That's the environment you're in. You're not going to put them, HCM solution, join us now. It's like, you're going to scare them off, 100%. So we thought, instead of doing that, let's talk to those HR managers. And let's understand another angle that they're interested in. That is not related to product, that is not related to transaction, like a problem that we can solve for them. And what we realized is that amid COVID, something happened is that there was a lot of remote working. And all these HR that live in this like legacy business, like contracting, etc., they were very scared. They were genuinely scared about their career because they didn't know how to read the future of work. So we didn't see only this on one, we started seeing across a lot of the HR we were talking to. And they had like 10 core accounts, so it's not like hundreds. So the 10 core accounts, they all told us, I'm scared about this future of work. I don't know where it's going. I don't know how to manage it. So what did we do? We started building like a page, and we say, running ads to that page saying, does the future of work scare you? Join the future of work community by brand. And you're gonna receive a lot of content around the future of work, we're going to interview people that are managing well the future of work. We're going to create like a whole ecosystem of content around the future of work, but it's branded. And then what happens is that as soon as we bring people to the podcast, as soon as we talk to people, then we start realizing that we're attracting the ICP, the ideal customer profile, and now they're already warmed up because they already know our brand, they already like us, and now it's time to sell to them. So that's because maybe your product has a longer sales cycle, and it's not a direct response that you just like, oh, because think about it, Instagram, and I'll be very specific on Instagram, TikTok even worse. Like, do you know the average basket size of companies that work on Instagram that actually work on direct response? It's $50. So unless your average ticket size is like $50, you can't do direct response. It doesn't make any sense because it's too high ticket for an impulse decision. Again, because Instagram is like going through like a sort of virtual mall, like a digital mall where you have like a lot of things and then you just pick up. But if it's more than $50, it's like outside of the realm pickup, now I have to think about it. Do I really want to pick it up? Because now this thing is like $300.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, thanks for the wonderful presentation and the discussion we have so far. It's Iqbal, we are Infinity, and we are in a very niche market that is kids tech and kids media. We are associated with TIE, and we are an N5 startup as well. So our targeted audience is very data sensitive. So here we are talking about marketing, and when we talk about data to the people who are in the marketing, like yourself, a marketing genius, we always need to be very cautious. So the people we are gonna deal with are basically very data sensitive. So in that case, how we are gonna build up a strategy that we should be reaching up to them and while we are growing up, because we are working on a solution that's gonna secure our kids 360 degrees moving forward in a few months' time. Right now, we are in a phase where we have a close beta tester that we are trying with about 1,000 people, and we are getting sign-ups within our network. So I just want to pick up your brain on that.
I didn't get it.
I just wanted to be conscious of time as well. I'll let him answer briefly.
Sure. Can you repeat your question? I didn't understand.
Basically, I want to know that if you're dealing with the audience who is a data sensitive, they want to share. They don't want to share the data that you're looking for to build up your marketing strategy over. So this is the question.
Yeah, then you have a big problem. Like then it becomes very difficult.
For that reason, you're here.
So we had a case where basically we were targeting developers, and there is no one more like secretive than a developer. They're gonna use DuckDuckGo instead of Google because they don't want their thing to be tracked, etc. So that's very sensitive. And the only way we actually got through it, but I don't know if it applies to your case because you said kids, right?
Yes, kids tech and kids media.
I honestly,
and then it also includes a huge amount of cybersecurity with AI.
Yeah, so I don't have that experience like in that specific field. So I'm just extrapolating from what I know, right? So what we did is that we've put them in a position, and this was in gaming, especially gaming for metaverse, like Web3 and all of that. And so working with developers, I found it was like the most difficult target audience that we ever had because they're so secretive. They're engineers. They're like some of them are a bit awkward, like a bit like weird, even like personally. They're like very, not very.
If you wanna see them glowing, if you wanna see them shining, go to Twitch. You'll find them.
Exactly.
Glittering there.
So what we did is that we started building like a whole strategy about co-building something. And the fact that they were so involved in building the product with us and building sandbox where they could just like get their hands dirty, that provided us that icebreaker. So we still couldn't send them like the same type of things, etc. But what we did that really worked really well for us was that we would be on calls with them. calls consistently while we were building stuff. It was very like, oh, let's go build, and after a while we started getting how they would think. But it was not like, it's not highly scalable, it's not as fast as with the normal audience. And you know, as a marketeer, you don't have a magic stick. If the guy doesn't want to give you your data, then he's not going to give you your data. So like whatever. But the way we kind of like managed to smolder it through is like being less scalable, less numbers, find core developers that were very excited to co-create. That's why GitHub is because developers in general, they're very problem solvers, so they love solving problems. If I'm gonna ask like the developer to give me like, oh, why are you doing this and why are you doing it, they're not even able to tell you. But then once you ship them a problem and like, hey, here's a challenge, then you're gonna see them in action, you're gonna see how they think, how they react to it, and that's where then you can build a marketing strategy. It's gonna take you more time, more money, more patience, but your target audience, it is what it is. For kids, I have no clue. I just had like twins right now, like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm still like figuring out. So and I've never marketed kids. I really don't know. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks so much for I'm pretty loud. Okay. So I have an offline B2B agency, which I'm moving online into a B2B marketplace. Do I then do beta testing with my current offline clients and send them the thing and be like, what do you think? Or is it a new community that I'm reaching?
It's a very interesting question because now you already have clients,
yeah,
but they're not your target audience because your target audience is online. So there's two things. Either you convert your customers to go online, and then that means education. So a lot of education, a lot of content, a lot of like talking to them, hey, look, online, it's so easy, here's like a tool, it's like much easier, you're gonna make them understand the benefit. What I would do if I were you, I would just like focus on converting those clients that you already have from online to offline, from offline to online, if it's possible. But I don't know if it is. So I don't know the details of your business, so I'm not gonna be able to say. But this is something that I would think of before building like a go-to-market strategy for another audience. Because think of it that every time you switch audience, you're building a new business. Even if your offer is the same, for a new audience is a new business. So you're starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So capitalize on whatever you already have in terms of audience. Because you have offer, like you have the offer and you have the audience. You have something you're selling to someone. So if something you're selling is still the same, but the audience changes, then it's a new business. So, like, that is what you need to figure out.
I am building a new business, basically.
Yeah.
I don't think my offline clients will translate to my online. The reason for making an online platform is for scalability.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
so in this situation, who am I beta testing with? Like, let's say I didn't even have the offline.
So then go back to the same exercise I showed you. Like, who would be the first 100 people that you would reach out to in your network, people that you could think of, people that you have on WhatsApp, 50, 30, 20, I don't know the volumes of B2B, but like whatever, and say, hey, I'm planning to do this. What do you think? Do you wanna test the service for me, or at least teeth the idea just for us to gather data and then launch it better? Do you want to be part of the first few that are testing this with us? Come on board.
So let's say my clients are brands, right? Would it work to do ads to get beta testers on?
Yeah, 100%. If you have budget, you could definitely get beta testers with ads. That's what we did for Rizek, for instance. We got beta testers just to get data for a go-to-market strategy and understand what kind of ads would work, what kind of ads wouldn't work, like understand all of that before going actually to market.
So then ads would work on B2B clients?
Yeah, but then it depends where.
Like
because if it's
Google.
in Google, especially if you have like enough search volume for your B2B, I don't know what you do exactly, but like for your B2B marketplace, if you already have validated the fact that there's enough keywords, volume per month, then in that case, you can run Google Ads and see how you rank against your competitors.
Okay.
And then from there, you could have just a landing page saying, hey, we are in beta, you're not going to be charged for the service. You're just going to be, and then you just go back to the same process.
Okay, then you showed your
But
growth
I would
funnel.
start from your personal network. If you have like a strong personal network of, let's say, 30 buyers or whatever. I don't know your business, so I cannot really tell you specifically, but the numbers. But like, if you have at least like a decent amount of users that you could test on, it would be great from your personal network.
Yeah, I think there's some. I think you should grab some water. You've been talking for a really long
I'm being
time.
drilling.
Yeah, I want to call Veena, our co-chair for Thai Women, Veena, to say a few words. And I'd also like to call Rowena, who's brought some flowers for the speaker. She's got her own, yes.
Thank you for bringing this beauty second time over. That's so special. So the new dad. Nelio, really words fail me about how I can thank you for this amazing masterclass. Thank you for taking the time out to come and talk to us, because there was a large audience online to listen to you intently. And being a new dad of twins, I have to double thank you, triple thank you for being here with us today. And I think it's great for us as a Thai community to be tapping into experts like you again and again, because the batch of newcomers and new startups keep changing. And sorry. So thank you very much. I mean, thank you for doing this for Thai again and again. And it's one of our, best-selling masterclasses. And thank you very much for that.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Before you all leave again, from Thai Dubai and Thai Women Meena, I just have a simple, again, thanks to all 200 plus women entrepreneurs who have applied from the region for our pitch competitions. This is huge. You've beaten all records so far. Thank you. We are the top performing chapter for women entrepreneurs. Thank you for that. And we look forward to interacting with all of you more and more. And like Cecily said, the results will be out very soon. And fingers crossed, we're looking forward to interacting with you over that too. Thank you for being here today. And please come over and talk to us. Oh, there's food too, by the way. So please.
How are you doing? I'm good. How are you? How's everything?